say them in the conversation and expect you to know them. You might be required to talk about your team split. You might be required to talk about your team line. They might make comments about whether you used your ethos, pathos, or logos, and they're just going to expect you to know what they're talking about. But today, the focus of our lesson is just 4 terms. We're going to understand the interlocutor, the motion, the proposition, and the opposition. Now, let me have a look here. Okay, so, well, and actually to answer the question that Jane just asked, debating is quite a formal conversation. So, like, you need to be dressed up nice, you need to speak respectfully, you need to follow the order of the conversation. So there are quite a few rules involved in a debate. But once you understand those rules, the actual debating itself is quite easy. So this is the difficult bit. Once we get past tonight's lesson and we have a revision session on Thursday to go over everything, it gets easier from there, I promise. So we have 4 terms to discuss today. It will. This is just the complicated stuff at the beginning. So this is just going to lay out all of the ground rules for you. So the first topic that we need to talk about is the interlocutor. The interlocutor is the moderator or facilitator of the debate. And what that means is they moderate the debate, so they make sure that all of the rules are being followed, and they facilitate the debate, which means that they make the debate happen. So they make sure that everything happens in the right order and that it flows smoothly. The interlocutor ensures fairness, they manage the debate, and they maintain order. So that basically means that everybody gets the same amount of time to speak. They manage the debate, again, in the sense of making it flow smoothly. And they maintain order, which means that they just make sure all of the rules are being followed. Some of their responsibilities include introducing the topic of the debate. That should say topic, not motion. They have timekeeping duties, so they make sure that each speaker only speaks for the amount of time that they've been given. And they facilitate the Q&A. So during the debate, there is a part of it where the judges and the audience can ask the debaters questions, and the interlocutor runs that portion of the debate. Sorry, guys, 2 seconds. Now, the next thing not whiteboard. All right, so before we continue, I think we need to have a little class discussion. So a few of you have sent messages saying that you think this is going to get harder. So if there are any questions or anything that you'd like to, or anything you'd like to say, let's talk about it now before we go on. So what are some of your concerns at the moment? Guys, what are some of your concerns at the moment about the class?
I think it will get harder.
Okay, so
this is harder.
So the first few lessons, so this is I think the third or fourth class that I've started teaching this material to, and each class has had a similar experience. So the first few classes are quite difficult because we're learning a lot of new words. So it's not like we're just talking about words that we already understand and we're just learning how to debate. To be able to debate, we do need to know, we do need to learn a lot of new words, a lot of new language. So all of that language was, or most of that language, I should say, was covered in the first lesson in that handout that I gave you. So if you read that handout and you study those words and you learn what they mean based on what I've put on that handout, as the lessons go on, all of those words start to make sense. And that, I think, is going to be the hardest part of this course, is just learning those new words. But the actual debating part of the class, where we learn to write our arguments, where we present our arguments, that part is actually the easy part, and that's what's coming up soon. So it gets easier. We just need to study the hard stuff first to make the easy stuff easier. So yes, I understand it is a bit tricky at the moment, but we just need to push through. We just need to make sure we learn these words. And once we know these words, the rest of it's easy. So does anybody else have anything that they'd like to say? Any questions they'd like to ask?
Does interlocutor means calculator?
No, interlocutor does not mean calculator. The words sound very similar though, don't they? Think of the interlocutor like the policeman in the debate. They make sure that everybody follows the rules. And
what if someone doesn't follow the rules and he or she escapes from jail?
Well, nobody goes to jail in a debate, but the interlocutor just makes sure that everybody follows the rules, and that if anybody starts getting mad with each other in the debate, then he calms everything down and makes sure that everybody gets back on topic. So, yeah, the interlocutor is like the law and order of a debate. He
What
makes
if
sure that the rules are
someone
followed.
doesn't follow the rules?
Well, if someone doesn't follow the rules, then the interlocutor has the right to issue punishments. It's nothing severe. One team might just lose a few points and makes it harder for them to win the debate.
Hi, teacher. But does any people lose all points?
So why if the interlocutor is the one that don't follow the rules?
Why doesn't the interlocutor name called interlocutor but not calculator?
Well, the interlocutor is called the interlocutor. I don't actually know why they have that name, but they're not called a calculator because they don't do maths. They're there to make sure the rules of the debate are being followed.
What if someone also punishes the police officer?
Well, the kind of punishments that we're talking about is just things like taking points away from the debating teams. So it just makes winning the debate harder for that team. There's no actual jail or anything like that. That doesn't happen. Anyway, let's get back on, yes.
What if the interlocutor is the one that don't follow the rules?
Well, I don't know. The interlocutor is usually the one that always does follow the rules because he has to make sure everyone else follows the rules. Anyway, before we move on, does everybody understand what the interlocutor does? Does everybody understand?
No, we don't.
Well, why not? We've just been talking about it.
If we make up rules, it means that we're the boss or the demander.
Nope, because debates have specific rules that must be followed. You can't just make rules up. There are rules that are already there that everyone has to follow.
What if someone makes nonsense rules?
What if someone makes nonsense rules? Well, they wouldn't because, like I said, the rules are already there. Everybody goes into the debate knowing the rules, or if they don't, they're allowed to ask the interlocutor to explain the rules to them. So everybody knows the rules.
So what if someone makes up rules that says the debate question is how that
they won't make up rules. Let's stop repeating the same questions over and over because we're wasting time. No one makes up rules in a debate. The rules are already set. The interlocutor knows them, and if any team members do not know them, they can ask the interlocutor to tell them. Okay, let's move on.
What if the debate judge doesn't know the rules?
Well, the judge can then ask the interlocutor. Anyone that doesn't know the rules can ask the interlocutor what the rules are, although the judges should know them.
Isn't there?
Then they wouldn't be an interlocutor if they don't know the rules. Anyway, let's stop wasting time. Let's move on. So, we've discussed the interlocutor at great length now. We're going to move on. The motion is the next term that we need to know. And the motion is the topic or proposition being debated. So what that means is that we have a debate topic And then the proposition team makes a motion, which is a statement that lets everybody know what side of the argument that they are on. And the motion is important because it sets the framework for the debate and it guides arguments. Now, a framework is pretty much just a set of rules or an order for the debate to happen in. And the motion lets everybody know how the conversation or how the debate is going to happen. And it also guides arguments. So it lets both teams know what sorts of arguments that they need to make. Now let's look at some examples.
Wait, potions?
Here. So not potion, motion. Motion with an M. So if we have a look at topic number 1, should every child learn to swim? The motion, or an example of the motion, would be, this house believes that every child should learn how to swim. And the important thing to know is that it's always the proposition team or the affirmative team it's always the affirmative team that makes the motion. So this is how it lets us know which team needs to make which arguments. Because if the proposition team says they believe every child should learn how to swim, that means that all of their arguments are going to be arguments for children learning to swim. So that leaves the opposition team to make arguments that children should not learn how to swim. So that's how the motion statement Excuse me 2 seconds, guys. Okay. Where are we here? So just to go over what we talked about. So number 1, the proposition team always make the motion. So that motion statement always needs to let everybody know what the proposition team is arguing for. So if the topic is, should every child learn to swim? Then the proposition team lets us know what side they are arguing for with their motion statement. This house believes that every child should learn how to swim. So as a result, the opposition team will be making arguments that every child should not learn how to swim. So now that we've had a look at an example of a motion statement, we can talk about the proposition. So the proposition is the team that supports the motion. They present arguments in favor of the motion. So they want us to agree with the motion, and their arguments will try to convince us to agree with the motion. So that's the important part there. The proposition want us to agree with the topic of debate. The other team is called the opposition. And the opposition is the team that opposes the motion. They present arguments against it. So whatever the proposition is trying to make us believe, the opposition is trying to get us to think it's wrong. So that is an important thing to consider. So, do we have any questions about what we've spoken about so far? About the motion, the proposition, or the opposition? No? Close. Proposition. A preposition is it's something to do with language. It's a type of word that we use. But proposition with an O is the name of the affirmative debate team. That, I just looked at that. For some reason, that looked right that time. Okay, so the next topic to talk about is how the proposition and the opposition interact with each other. So a fancy way of saying that is the interplay between the proposition and the opposition. So the dynamics of a debate, or basically what's happening during a debate, is both of the teams are having a clash of ideas, arguments, and perspectives. So obviously the clash means that each team is arguing the exact opposite of the other team. So the ideas that they come up with are going to be completely opposite to one another. The arguments that those ideas generate are going to be completely opposite to one another. And the points of view of the debaters will be the opposite of one another, because taking our example topic, every child should learn to swim, the proposition are going to be arguing that every child should learn how to swim, and the opposition are going to be arguing that every child should not learn how to swim. So we've got these two ideas that are the exact opposite of each other, and they're arguing with each other to try and get the audience and the judges to believe them, to take their side. So it's important to have balance So balanced and well-constructed arguments from both sides. So the balanced part of that refers to each team should be given the same amount of time to speak. No team should be given more time to speak than the other, because that's not fair. You're supposed to make the best possible arguments that you can, so that and you should be able to do that in the time you're given without having to take time away from the other team. And the well-constructed part of the arguments simply means that we want to write, develop, and deliver our arguments in the smartest possible way that's going to give us the best chance of convincing the judges and the audience. And the goal of a debate for each team is to try to persuade the audience and influence their stance on the motion. And what that means is we want to write the best possible argument to make the audience take our side of the argument. We want them to believe what we have to say, and we have to try and convince them that what the opposing team is saying is just wrong. And if we can do that good enough, we will win the debate. Are there any questions about what we've talked about?
No, teacher.
Terrific. Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about, we're coming back to the interlocutor. So the next thing we want to talk about is the interlocutor's role in mediating the debate. So mediating the debate simply means to make sure that it is fair, that no one's being treated unfairly. So some of the jobs that the interlocutor has to do, he has to make sure that both teams get the same amount of time to speak. Another job that the interlocutor has, they have to manage the flow of the debate and maintain order. So to manage the flow of the debate, that means that they want to try to avoid any unnecessary pauses. So as soon as one speaker finishes, the next speaker is invited up, and the debate can flow nice and smoothly. And so to ensure that it doesn't take forever, basically. And maintaining order just means that the interlocutor makes sure that everybody follows the rules. And that, that nobody tries to speak too long or make sure that everybody speaks in the correct order. And the final job of the interlocutor is resolving conflicts and enforcing debate rules. So sometimes debates can get pretty heated, and members of teams might stop making arguments in the debate, and they might start actually having an argument with each other. So people can get pretty mad sometimes. And if that happens, the interlocutor is there to step in and make sure that everybody calms down, they stop the argument, and they get the debate back on track. And the last job is just to make sure that all of the rules are being followed. So it's time for a little exercise now, guys.
Teacher, the interlocutor makes people calm down, but it's too hard to make he or she calm down. So after he or she got calmed down, the interlocutor is not calm.
Yeah, the interlocutor. So the interlocutor normally has a lot of experience at being an interlocutor. So they're usually very good at getting people to calm down. They're usually very good at keeping the debate on track, making sure that all the rules are followed, making sure that people know when to speak, how long to speak for. So the interlocutor is usually a very calm person, and they don't ever usually get mad during the debate because they're there to stop other people from getting mad. Now, it's time to recap. Let's recap about what we've talked about. No, they don't use combat to make people calm down. So debates are entirely conversations. There's nothing physical about them. So,
Teacher,
yes.
do the interlocutor use violence to make people calm down?
No, you wouldn't make people calm down. You just make people scared. And you don't want to scare people in a debate. You want to argue your point calmly and logically. And if your emotions get the better of you, then you just let the interlocutor calm you down and end any arguments that are going on.
I say, did the interlocutor use violence to make people calm down?
No, because that's just a very bad thing to do. You never want to use violence to try and control somebody. That's just bad. And number two, the interlocutor, if they were to use violence to try and get a debater to calm down, they'd just get arrested and they'd go to jail for using violence. So it's not a smart strategy to use. So we just need to forget about the interlocutor using violence. They never use violence.
Okay.
Okay. Time for a little bit of revision. So, number one, who can tell me what the interlocutor does?
The judge is the judge.
Very good. So, the interlocutor is the law and order. Makes sure rules are being followed. Makes sure the judges are being fair. Good. So next up, who can tell me something about the motion?
It's the topic.
Good. The motion is the topic statement. Which team makes the motion statement?
The proposition.
Very good. Made by proposition. Now, I want somebody else to answer these next few questions because we want to give everybody a chance to talk.
Okay.
But thank you very much. Those were some good answers. Now, who can tell me something about Who can tell me something about the proposition team?
Why is there nobody?
I don't know.
I got it. I always got it.
The proposition team argues that the question should be.
Good. Very good. The proposition argues for the motion.
That is what I'm thinking.
Very good. So the proposition team argues for the motion. I'll put in brackets here. Affirmative. So if the proposition team argues for the motion, who can tell me about the opposition?
I can.
Opposition is
Let's give
negative.
Very good. So the opposition
is the one that tried to oppose the motion.
Good. Very good, guys.
Negative.
All right. Good job, you guys. So I'm glad to see that we are understanding some of these new words that we're learning. So this is really good. And like I promised you, pardon? So as I was saying before, the hard part about learning to debate is learning these words and what they mean. So once we understand this stuff, I'll just be able to say, okay, so I need the proposition team to give me their motion and blah, blah, blah. And you guys will go, oh, I know what those words mean. And you'll be able to do the things that I ask. But we just need to take this time now to learn these words. So this is fantastic that we're getting this stuff. This is really good. Now, I'm going to clear this board, and the next part of this class that we need to cover is on our slideshow here. So the next question that we need to explore is, how are all of these roles interconnected? So what that means is, what do these 4 words that we've been learning about today, what do they all have to do with each other? So we're going to play a little game now. Oh, a little game. I'm going to put up a whiteboard. My gosh, Fan, there's a shark behind you. Watch out.
What do you mean?
There's a shark behind you. Watch out. You're going to get eaten.
It was actually about the killer whales, not the shark.
Well, I saw a shark and that's what caught my attention. So I'm going to put up the top.
I saw 2 killer whales attacking him.
Ah, well, looks like those killer whales are protecting you then. So I'm going to put interlocutor up the top here. I'm going to write the word motion here. I'm going to write proposition here, and I'm going to write
the negative
opposition over here. Now, here is your task. I'm going to draw some lines So from the interlocutor to the motion, from the opposition to the proposition, from each of the teams to the motion, and from the interlocutor to each of the teams. Now, our job is to figure out the relationship between all of these words and why I've drawn a line from all of the words to the other words. So, first of all, who can
I got it.
Oh, you've got to let me ask the question first, and you've got to give other people a chance to talk too, because you've been getting all of these questions.
Okay.
So my first, the first line I want us to figure out is, what is the relationship between the proposition and the opposition? So what do the proposition and the opposition do? Anybody? Okay, Deng Bao. If you think you've got it, what is the relationship between the proposition and the opposition?
I think the proposition and the opposition is agree each other.
They what, sorry?
They agree and...
Very good. The proposition and the opposition argue against each other. Very good. So, next up, what is the relationship between the proposition and the motion? Who knows that one? So, what do the proposition try to do with the motion? Ben.
The proposition makes the motion.
Very good. They make the motion, but what do they try to do with the motion once they've made it?
They argue for it.
Very good. They argue for it. Now, what about the relationship between the opposition and the motion?
They argue again.
Beautiful. They argue against it. Very good, guys. See, we're already halfway done here. Now, for this answer, we're going to swap the word motion for debate. So what is the relationship between the interlocutor and the debate? Somebody new this time? Someone that hasn't answered a question yet?
The interlocutor just ensure that the two people who debate, it is fair.
Good. So the interlocutor makes makes the debate fair. And what's the other one? The interlocutor does something with the rules as well. The interlocutor does what with the rules of the debate?
The interlocutor makes sure the two teams follow the rule of everything.
They make
Very
the rule.
good. The interlocutor makes sure the rules are followed. You guys are doing fantastic. Now,
And your
finally,
looks like a jelly.
Now, what is the relationship between the, and to be honest, I'm actually not going to ask that one because you've already given me the answer. It's actually very difficult to write sideways.
You just need to turn the jelly.
It
looks like a jelly.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
It looks like a jelly with lots of messy writing in it. So I'm just going to scribble that one out.
That
so,
is the
looks like a debate jelly.
It is. It's a big bowl of debate jelly with lots of messy writing in it. So, well done, guys. As we can see here, that these four words or these four parts of the debate that we've talked about, they're all related to each other. So if you take any one word, you can see a line to all three of the other words on the page. So these are probably the four most important words you'll learn about debating.
And after that, the jelly will be more messy.
That's right. Well, now the jelly's set, we've got to cut it up and serve it to everybody. So yeah, it's going to get messy. But yes.
After that, the jelly will explode.
Oh, I don't think it'd explode. I think it'd just go like when you cut it up.
It can explode when you destroyed it.
That's right. Now, back on topic, guys. We've got a few minutes left to go, and we want to finish up strong. So, as we can see, all of these four words are connected to each other.
Yeah.
So these are probably these are the four most important words that you will learn about debating.
They are so important that that without them there are no debate.
Anyway, so you guys have done fantastic with learning those definitions today. And I know we've had to go over them a lot, but these are the four words that you absolutely need to know. The other ones are just going to make your debating experience easier in the long run. So
why am I seeing white?
why? I'm
I
back.
think your camera is just spinning.
No, my camera's quite strange. It'll make me disappear sometimes. Like if I, no, it's going to keep me there.
I know because the backdrop.
That's right. The virtual backdrop I've got. So we've got a couple of slides left to go now. So as we were talking about before, the importance of understanding these roles. So if we want to participate in a debate effectively, so as well as possible, we need to know what all of these terms mean, because it's going to enhance our ability to construct well-informed arguments and counter arguments. It also will give us a deeper understanding of the debate process and the dynamics of the debate. So what that means is, I'll unjumble that for you. So by knowing what all of these words mean, we know what we have access to. So for example, if we don't understand a rule of the debate, or we don't understand something that's been said to us, then we can ask the interlocutor to explain it to us. That's what they're there for, to make sure it's fair, to make sure everybody understands, and to make sure that everybody follows the rules.
Is sleepwalking?
Well, they wouldn't be sleepwalking because they've got a job to do, and that job to do is being the interlocutor. That would be like the interlocutor being asleep at the debate would be like me. Hang on. The interlocutor sleepwalking would be like me teaching the class like this.
That means he is walking. And then while he's walking, he hears some noise, and it makes him wake up, and he's so angry that he used violence.
Hang on. Someone's just said my caption shows the interlock guitar. So
you're disappearing, and it's
no, I'm back. Hang on a second. Jane's put her hand up. What would you like to ask or say, Jane? Whoop.
Why does it say interlocutor but not calculator?
Not again.
Oh, this again. No. So I don't know the reason why the interlocutor is called.
I know the reason why. Because they think of the word calculator, but then they use calculator for the thing that used.
Don't encourage it, Ben.
So
don't encourage it.
Doesn't like math.
So.
Got a question more.
So the reason that the interlocutor is not called the calculator is because the calculator is used for doing maths. It's used to make calculations. No. What's your other question, Jane?
Question.
It is because
what is your other question?
The interlocutor hates math.
I have another question.
And what is that question, Jane?
Why does Mr. Michael ask for proposition is Mr. Michael old or not? He says he cannot. Then he says that he cannot say no. He must say yes.
Well, so if the motion is Mr. Michael is old, then I am definitely going to be on the opposition. So I'm going to say no.
Going to say that, I'm sorry, I couldn't say no, so I have to say yes.
Oh, no.
No, I'm on the opposition, so I'm going to say no. Mr. Michael is not old.
But the interlocutor is going to move Mr. Michael to the proposition.
So the motion will be Mr. Michael.
Oh my.
How many hairs do you have?
How many hairs on my head?
Yes.
I
Maybe one.
don't know. There's lot. Hang on.
Mr. Michael is bald.
No, I'm not bald. There's lots of hair. I've got lots of hair. Like
one.
Like
is Mr. Michael Albert Einstein?
Like a million billion. I don't know. I have lots of hair. Oh my gosh, Dang Giao Bao's has become a banana. So all right, so when
I don't like bananas that much.
You're so old.
Oh my god, I'm not old.
You're so old.
Anyway, we're going to save the questions for the end of the class because I've got a couple of more slides to get through before we finish. We're nearly finished, guys. And then,
but you are so old.
That's not very nice, guys. I'm not that old.
When you
anyway,
in a debate
focus.
question, you ever take a bath?
Guys,
when you
let's.
In a debate question, say that you're old. And you have no hair. Mr. Michael is old.
Guys, we can make jokes at the end of class. We're nearly finished. Let's focus. We've got a couple more things to talk about.
Debating.
Exactly. We can have a joke at the end of class and then we can laugh about how old I am then.
It's a debate.
You are oldest person in the world.
I'm not, but focus on this. Come on, let's focus. We're nearly there. The importance of understanding these roles. So it enhances, we've already talked about that. I'm getting old and forgetful. So basically, understanding these words and what they mean will give you a better understanding of the debate process and the services that you have access to. So like I said, the interlocutor can clear up rules for you. They ensure that the debate is fair and you get your time to speak. The motion is used to let us know which type of arguments that we want to be making. So if we're on the proposition team,
the
good.
time to speak is 1 second.
Anyway, stop, guys. Back on track.
Okay.
So the motion lets us know what type of arguments we want to be making. So if we're on the proposition team, we know we want to make our arguments support the motion. If we're on the opposition team, we want to make our arguments try and prove the motion wrong. So just by knowing what these words mean already gives us a huge advantage going into a debate. So what are the next steps? We want to practice identifying and analyzing motions, proposition, and opposition in debates.
What step? I do not see any step here.
I just read out the first one. So I want you guys to go on YouTube and I want you to search up videos of debates. And I just want you to watch a few videos, try and find the motion statement, try and work out who is the proposition and who is the opposition. I want you to explore different debate scenarios and motions to strengthen your understanding. So don't just watch one video, watch a few videos on different topics, because then you'll be able to pick up.
Watch 1,000 videos.
Not 1,000, that's too many. You'd be there forever. But, you know, watch maybe 3 or 4 different debating videos, just to have the practice. Watching 1,000 debate videos, you'd be there for probably a few months.
It will be pretty easy because the time of the video is 0.00000.1.
Well, that doesn't count then if you're watching a video that's 000, because you're not watching a video then. Anyway, so we want to watch a few different kinds of debates. We want to watch maybe some academic debates. We want to watch maybe some competitive debates. And we want to watch maybe some public debates as well. So that'll give us some good practice of trying to find the motion, work out the proposition and the opposition. And finally, the subject of our next 2 lessons will be, the next lesson is going to be one big revision session. So if there's anything that we have talked about in the last 3 lessons that we've had together that you're still not sure of or that you don't understand, that is your time to ask me, and I'll answer any questions that you've got about the subject matter. No asking silly questions. And yeah, because from here on out, this course will be like 1,000 times easier if we understand the language of debate. It's going to make it a lot easier for us.
1,000,000,000 times.
Yep, I'd say even that. And finally, the next lesson after our revision session, we're going to learn actually how to write a paragraph using the teal structure, which is it's a very handy writing technique that's going to allow us to develop good arguments. And if we can learn to use this structure well, we'll be able to write very convincing arguments, and we should be able to smash any debate that we're in. So let's wrap it up. Let's finish.
There's a debate in the chat box.
There's a debate in the chat box, is there? Oh, good heavens. It better not be that I'm old.
You are old.
And in regards to the person that messaged, it's getting late, we would have finished on time if you guys hadn't have spent so long mucking around. So if you want to get out of here on time, we just got to get through the lesson without mucking around. Now,
the debating is starting.
No, the debating is not starting, because you're not debating, you're just calling me old.
Starting.
No,
I'm not calling you old.
It's not debating, because there are no formal arguments being written and presented. You're just going, he's old. No, he's not. Yes, he is. He's like 1,000,000. That's not debating. Anyway,
yes.
So let's finalize what we did today. That's arguing, not debating. There's a difference. So remember, it's important to understand these four. Remember, it's important to understand these terms to make your debating experience easier to navigate. So remember what I talked about before. If you know what the terms mean, then you know what you have available to you to help you make your debating easier. And finally, watch some debating videos on the internet to further develop your understanding of these terms. So, that is the end of class. And I don't know what he did to deserve that. Why'd you strangle him? So, good lesson today, guys. We covered a lot of good stuff, and glad to see that you were all answering the questions and understanding what we were talking about. So, on that note, your homework for Thursday is make sure that you have your homework task from the last couple of lessons finished, and we're going to add on to that for every argument that you made for both proposition and opposition. You're going to expand them. Just write about three or four sentences about each argument. So not too much, just 3 or 4 sentences about each argument that you made, and bring that to class on Thursday and watch some debating videos so that you can start picking up the motions, proposition, and opposition. Okay, I've chatted your ears off enough.
There's an argument.
And I'm sick of seeing you guys talk about how old I am, but thank you to the ones that are defending me saying I'm not that old.
We're debating.
It's not debating, it's just arguing.
It is just yes, no. It's just.
So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Do your homework. And
Okay, but
Not
I'm not
homework.
bye, everybody. I'm going to write your homework in the Zalo group.
Bye,
Okay.
Bye, teacher.
And this
Bye,
class
everybody.
right now.
Bye, teacher. Bye,
Bye.
Bye. Remember you
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It's not old.